present will have a good idea of the foundation upon which we are now giving answers, where we were not able to do so at that time. Next, we do have some persons who are on the GS forum for the first time ever, who were not present during that time, and who therefore did not listen to the address. And taking them into consideration, this message, which overcoming inner insecurity. In view of the comments that were made, I am satisfied that this theme that we addressed previously is of serious concern to very many persons, not just members of the Rosicrucian Order AMOP, but our fellow humans in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Kenya, East Africa, as well as, of course, in the Western world, I mean, Great Britain, European countries, and the United States of America. And I want to be able to, therefore, start by saying that we should sit relaxed and relax, breathe in and out, feel completely at ease with ourselves, and let us unite in invocation. God of our hearts, of our realization, we assemble virtually in your light, life, and love, and ask, as always, for your continued divine inspiration and guidance in our lives and for the protection of our common humanity. Grant us what it takes at this moment to be receptive to your divine inspiration, so that our acts of service under the auspices of the Rose Cross may always be to your glory and the good of all. So much it be. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, at a time when there's so much anxiety and brouhaha over border insecurity, societal insecurity, environmental insecurity, violence, and enormous fear of terrorism, we might as well discuss it, which is the tendency to feel insecure within ourselves. In every society, bad news travels much faster than good news, captured by things that make us feel uneasy or uncomfortable. And this can be attributed to our instinctive sense of self-preservation. When we consider the fact that we must be alive first to enjoy life, it is no surprise that threatening news takes more of our journalists, reporters, bloggers, and social media influencers are aware of this. And this is precisely why frightening events, including security challenges around us, quickly dominate news. And so this is, of course, the information age. And with the advent of the World Wide Web, information now spreads around the whole world in a matter of seconds. Same token, misinformation is also rapidly spread through the same channels. So this era or age is also proven to be the misinformation age, if I may say so. It is fair to say we have too much information, and our level of interconnectedness through the internet is therefore a double-edged sword. It is a potential avenue for education and empowerment, but also particularly the propagation of panic. There is no doubt that we must be wary of the real dangers that exist around us, of which there are many examples. However, there is a difference between real danger and our internal reactions to artificial threats created in our own minds. In an attempt to demonstrate this difference, let me give you some real-life examples. A gentleman was being driven home in his brand new SUV Jeep. He was comfortably seated at the back, reading a newspaper as the driver expertly maneuvered the car at steady cruising speed. All of a sudden, he had a loud explosion, and when he looked up, he saw that another car had crossed in front of his car. It was filled with hoodlums who had fired shots at the tire of the car, forcing the driver sharply apply brakes and stop the car. The gang leader aggressively jumped out and came up to the side of the car. The gentleman, calmly observing, wound down his window and asked what they wanted. The gang leader was taken aback by the calm disposition of his victim and became a little confused. Then, noticing a golden chain with a hermetic rosy cross pendant around the gentleman's neck, he thrust his hand through the car window and yanked it off. In a very steady voice, the gentleman asked him if he actually knew what he made the hoodlum to panic. And he immediately threw the gold chain and pendant back into the car. As if this was a cue, the driver suddenly fired the Jeep into motion, swerving past the vehicle, partially blocking the road, and sped away in spite of the damaged tire. This is how they made a miraculous escape. On getting safely home, the gentleman reflected on the event and became filled with fear. He became so overwhelmed with feelings of insecurity that he was unable to venture out of his house for more than a month. Another real-life incident following a similar pattern involved an elderly man whose home was attacked by armed robbers. He was rudely awakened in the middle of the night to loud banging sounds on his front door. He got out of bed and approached the door, which he was confident would hold up to the attack because he had installed a very sturdy security door. In order to dissuade or demoralize the armed robbers, he started to hurl abusive words at them from the safety of his side of the door, telling them how pathetic they were and that they were wasting their time. But to his greatest surprise, they broke down the door and came into the house. However, rather than panic, the sheriff suddenly felt guilty. The old man noticed and took advantage of this by telling them that he was old enough to be their father. There were two of them, one with a pistol and the other with a cutlass. The pistol was pointed at his head and the edge of cutlass blade on his neck as they demanded for money. In response, the old man put his hand into his pocket and brought out just 1 5 naira note, the lowest denomination available in notes. Surprisingly, they took the money and left. The old man returned to his bed that very night and fell asleep. And in the morning when he woke up, he reflected upon the incident and was suddenly gripped by cold fear. He wondered how he could have been so calm with a pistol barrel to his head and a cutlass blade at his neck. He packed a suitcase and moved out to his friend's place and was unable to return to his house for several weeks. What we find in common, Francis Ross, between these two real-life stories is that in the face of real danger, these individuals were very calm and composed. However, at the time the danger was totally absent, they became filled with inner feelings of insecurity. If we can understand reasons behind the person being calm in the face of danger, and on the contrary, being fearful to overcoming infrastructures. If behind the person being calm in the face of great danger, and on the contrary, being fearful in the absence of danger, we will have the key to overcoming insecurity. There is an ancient Rosicrucian saying that a true Rosicrucian knows no fear. However, the Rosicrucian philosophy makes a distinction between fear and caution. When we know something is potentially harmful, it is rational to take all the necessary precautions we need to safeguard ourselves from it. Fear, on the other hand, is an irrational emotion that comes over us as we anticipate an unknown experience. It is the fear of the unknown, fueled by an active imagination. Ironically, most of the things we fear never come to pass. Fear, Francis and Ross, is an emotion we are all introduced to early in life. This is different from the natural sense of caution that is part of the survival instincts we are all born with. Without this natural caution, children will be endangered by the overwhelming levels of curiosity and adventurousness they have. However, parents also have a duty to protect their children from danger. And out of this sense of protectiveness, many parents and society in general instill fear into their children as they warn them about the dangers existing around them. The idea is to scare them away from actions or things that may harm them. As a result of this, many children live with underlying fear, or at least easily frightened by the things they encounter in life. As we grow up through childhood, our increasing power of reasoning helps to reduce the level of irrational fear in our lives, but does not totally eliminate it. Some of our fears are so deeply rooted in our minds that they are beyond the reach of the rational or conscious mind. In other words, we cannot rationalize them away, because they are controlled by the subconscious mind. The power of the subconscious mind over all aspects of our lives is one of the subjects carefully analyzed in the Rosicrucian teachings. The subconscious mind is an inner intelligence that directs all the complex activities of body and mind that we are mostly unconscious of. It is what keeps us alive and makes us who we are. It is fortunate that the subconscious mind can carry out all its activities without the involvement of our reasoning mind. Imagine what it would be like if you had to take rational decisions before your heart beats, your food digests, or air enters your lungs. We do not have the intelligence, concentration, mental speed, or stamina to be able to consciously direct even the smallest fraction of what the subconscious mind does continuously. Our subconscious mind functions independently, however. It reacts to our conscious thoughts, words, and actions. And this happens all the time, whether we are aware of it or not. Left to act on its own, our subconscious intelligence mirrors the balance and harmony of the cosmic mind or the mind of God. As we have said on previous occasions, the subconscious mind is the mind of God in the human being. However, the discord or disharmony in our thoughts, words, and actions can interfere with the harmonious effects of the subconscious mind. This can be easily demonstrated. An example of this occurred when a man visiting a local community for the first time was offered a meal. After eating the meal, which he found to be very delicious, he asked the cook what was in the food. He was told that the meal was made out of very nutritious worms found in palm trees. They are like large-sized maggots and a local delicacy in that part of the country. When he had this, he spontaneously vomited out all the contents in his stomach. His revulsion at the idea of eating worms, which was an anathema in his culture, disrupted the harmonious digestive process taking place under the direction of his subconscious mind. Without the disturbing thoughts, the digestion would have been completed naturally without any problems. Similarly, without the interference of disturbing thoughts, the subconscious mind confers upon us a natural sense of security at all times. The cosmic mind, which is always in a state of balance and perfect harmony, conveys this sense of security to us through the subconscious mind. However, interference of our conscious mind or our thought processes can cause us to lose this sense of security. The Rosicrucian way to overcome inner insecurity is to constantly place our conscious thoughts, words, and actions in service and submission to the higher intelligence of the cosmic mind, the universal consciousness of God. There are many Rosicrucian techniques for achieving this, including initiations, sacred rites, affirmations, chanting of vowel sounds, sacred words, special breathing, creative visualization, prayers, meditation, etc. We will just consider, for the purpose of this presentation, two of these which are commonplace, namely prayer and meditation. There are, fratres and sorors, ladies and gentlemen, many types of prayer. However, when a prayer involves calling out the things we are afraid of and asking God to protect us from them, the inner security we seek may elude us. This is because by mentioning the things we are afraid of in our prayers, such as death, illness, accidents, lack of money, and the like, we are bringing inharmonious thoughts to the fore of our consciousness. This may interfere with the harmonious activity of the subconscious mind. So, rather than mention our fears, we will be better off mentioning our desires, our yearnings, our aspirations. Instead of praying against death, we should, for goodness sake, pray for life. Instead of praying against illness, we should pray for health. Instead of praying against failure in an examination, we should pray to pass it. Instead of praying against an accident, we should pray for journey mercy, safe journey, etc. However, what's attempting to align with the divine intelligence of God Almighty, the cosmic mind, or whatever name you choose to call the higher being, in whose consciousness we live and move and have our being. If we succeed in prayer, meaning if we become aligned even momentarily, we will certainly be rewarded with a feeling of inner security. The practice of meditation, on the other hand, involves slowing down all our conscious activity so that the subconscious becomes more dominant. Using various techniques, we can relax our physical bodies and reduce our mental activity to the barest minimum. And in so doing, the subconscious mind becomes free to function without distraction. The result is that the harmony and security inherent in cosmic intelligence manifests in our beings. By practicing prayer and meditation regularly and frequently, they become habits. As we say in our Rosicrucian teachings, a habit is an unconscious law of the subconscious mind. We find that the effects of meditation and prayer on our bodies and minds remain with us for longer periods of time as we practice. Eventually, these effects will become a constant part of our being throughout the day and not just limited to the period we pray or meditate. Apart from the feelings of inner security, we will also enjoy real protection. This will come from the positive vibrations in our aura, which easily deflects both psychic and even physical attacks. We will find also that we have an enhanced power of intuition, which will lead us away from dangerous places or situations. However, brothers and sisters, we must bear in mind that to continue to enjoy inner security, we must keep up with the practices that bring it about. If we slip into thoughts and actions that do not support our sense of security, we will lose it. The price for inner security is therefore eternal vigilance. Thank you, brothers and sisters, family members and friends who are in this virtual forum. This is how we ended the last session by way of my presentation. And then some questions came up spontaneously, which I answered, but there were very many other questions which, because of time constraints, I couldn't answer, and which I asked the moderator and coordinators of this program to forward to me so that I can address them. And this is the opportunity I have at this time to address them. I want you to pay attention so that if there are still some unanswered areas in your mind which I can entertain within the time spectrum of this forum, I will attempt to do so. What I have before me so far are 13 questions, and I will make some quick answers, hoping that I will touch on the various aspects, howbeit briefly, within the time frame we have. Then maybe I will pause for some comments, and then I will proceed to tell us about the upcoming Rosicrucian Convention. The first unanswered question at that time was, in the example where the delicious food was regurgitated, will it not have been possible for this to be prevented, since the subconscious is of God and should override the conscious? Let me repeat it. In the example where the delicious food was regurgitated, would it have been possible for this to be prevented, since the subconscious is of God and should override his conscious? My answer: the subconscious mind in man is referred to as the mind of God in man, because of the nearly unlimited power available to man through the subconscious. The power in the subconscious mind can be consciously invoked by using the technique of mental suggestion. However, this may also occur unconsciously, as in the example referred to. The Rosicrucian path of development involves the creation of a bridge between the conscious and subconscious aspects of our mind, so that they work in concert towards the fulfillment of our aspirations. Second question: how do we bring up children to inhibit fear and promote caution instead, so they have an easier journey through life? Well, this is detailed in the child culture lessons of the Rosicrucian Order. We have a Child Culture Institute, and our family parents can read these lessons and come up with their own approach in handling this. But let me answer by saying that we should avoid, as much as possible, using fearful threats to make our children do our bidding or behave in the way we wish them to. By telling them stories that extol the virtues and values of courage, we may encourage them to adopt this particular virtue. On our part, we must also learn how to overcome fear in our lives, so that we have the confidence in turn to impart this into our children. Third question: what does it take a man with little or no knowledge and application of natural and spiritual laws to achieve inner security? What does it take a man with little or no knowledge and applications of natural and spiritual laws to achieve inner security in the face of challenging situations? My answer: the ability to achieve inner security in challenging situations is dependent on our capacity to remain aware of the deeper reality that exists within us. This is not an intellectual exercise, and can therefore be achieved intuitively without any theoretical knowledge of natural and spiritual laws. Those on the Rosicrucian path, however, know that a knowledge of natural and spiritual laws is always an asset when it comes to self-mastery and eventually the mastery of life. Question number 4. What can we say about the helplessness of government in tackling the prevailing banditry, kidnappings, and terrorism? Well, terrorism, kidnapping, and banditry are challenges to nations all over the world, although they are more emphasized in certain nations than in others. These challenges have been met with various degrees of success, but not enough to free the world from the present grip of insecurity. A lot of investment of resources will be required to overcome these challenges because they are in fact symptoms of the deeper issue of societal imbalance. I mean, imbalances between the miserably poor and wretched of the earth and the overwhelmingly and filthily rich in various parts of our planet. Question number 5. Most of our inner securities arise from the anxiety of everyday living brought about by lack. Can the inner insecurities be overcome when the situations that brought them in the first instance are very much there? Answer. Our anxiety is not from the lack we experience, but rather how we perceive what we see as lack. A change of perception can bring about inner security in spite of our external circumstances remaining the same. Therefore, a consideration of our perception and how to view things happening around us is important. Just so our attitude towards life and living. Question number 6. How can one overcome inner security that was brought over from a past incarnation? Yes, indeed, inner insecurity from a previous incarnation will be and can be carried over in the subconscious mind. This can be overcome, however, as we progress along the Rosicrucian path and become adepts at working with our subconscious minds. The Rosicrucian training is important for tackling this type of situation. Question number 7. Most for the Grand Administrator, is it negativity or inner insecurity when one considers taking and then seeks to forestall? How do we draw the line between being fearful and proactive? How do we differentiate between being insecure and thoughtful? Answer. The attempt to forestall a possible future problem is an act of caution, not of fear. When we are fearful, we tend to act irrationally. Question number 8. When faced with herdsmen or burglar in your compound, what will you do? Answer. When faced with imminent danger, our reaction will depend on our preparation beforehand. If we have been regular in our Rosicrucian practices, we will receive inner direction on what we must do to safeguard ourselves. Mark you, this inner direction may vary from one condition, circumstance, or situation to another condition, circumstance, or situation. And it will really, in terms of what is needed, we're confronted with. Question number 9. Sustain their inner security when they were gripped by fear in the aftermath of the attacks. Well, answer. Both individuals were able to regain their inner security by applying the techniques of positive creative visualization and meditation. It is the regularity with which they apply these techniques that cause them to remain cool, calm, and composed. Being cool, calm, and composed is a state of mind and an emotional attitude that has arisen as part of our culture in the techniques of concentration, contemplation, visualization, meditation, cosmic attunement, etc. And they will have become second nature in this type of person. Question number 10. Can one use the power of projection as a frater to provide security in the inner system of another? Yes. We can project our consciousness in metaphysical assistance to restore peace and inner security in another individual, in another group, in another country and to another country, place, etc. We have the ability to do that. Question number 11. Sir, you mentioned secret ways to kill inner insecurity. How? Answer. Rosicrucian members are taught ways of directing the inner powers of the subconscious mind by pronouncing certain words and or vowel sounds. Question number 12. Wish to know the reason why the victims were not afraid initially, but became very much afraid after the incident. Answer. During the confrontation, they were able to direct their inner powers effectively to calm and save themselves. However, reflecting upon the incident afterwards, they poisoned their minds with thoughts of what they may have suffered if things had gone wrong and became fearful as a result. Once again, the Rosicrucian Order Armor is an organization that is devoted to freeing humanity from the enslaving influence of fear, the darkness of ignorance, and the sufferings and shackles of avoidable karma. Last question, number 13. Are there rational and irrational fears? Is fear inborn or acquired? Answer. Fear is irrational. The survival instinct provides us with a signal when we are faced with danger. This will enable us to escape the danger. We may call this instinctive signal. We may call this instinctive signal a kind of fear when it makes us run away. But on reflection, we may see that it was an impulse from a deeper intelligence that actually saved our lives. There is, on the other hand, a kind of fear that causes confusion and drives us directly into harm's way. This kind of fear is avoidable. So whether we are talking about fear of the known or fear of the unknown, we can play down on them, we can avoid them, and we have techniques which, if studied, can enable us maintain equilibrium in the face of danger and be able to harness the forces within us and enjoy cosmic protection. This is where we draw the curtain on the unanswered questions. I turn over now to the moderator for a few minutes, whether there are any comments address us on the convention. So, Nefer, are you there? Hello?
It's Frater Ejo, actually.
Okay. Yes, Frater Ejo, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Most worthy Grand Administrator, for doing justice to the questions that we asked at the last session, overcoming inner insecurity. Most worthy Grand Administrator, about 5 of our members have indicated interest to make a few comments on the topic. So we'll yield the floor to them accordingly. Firstly, we'll hear from Uguma Michael Monjok. But Uguma Michael Monjok, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question or a comment.
Hello, Frater Monjok. Please go ahead. The next person, please.
May we please hear from Ilaye Oki? Ilaye Oki. Kindly unmute yourself and speak. Ilaye Oki.
Hello. Okay, this is why we want the moderator to be asking them to write questions and pose them so that we save the internet hitches and move on with time. Try the next person.
Queeneth Nkaneme. Dr. Queeneth Nkaneme, could you please ask a question? And for the rest of us, kindly drop your questions in the Q&A section so that the moderators can forward them to our most worthy grant administrator. Queeneth Nkaneme, please.
Hello.
Okay, Ilaye, please proceed.
Okay, what would be the first question that has appeared in the Q&A? Can we take that if you have one? Or comments?
We have an expression of gratitude, most worthy grant administrator. The question that was asked had already been addressed while you answered the previous ones. And now we don't have any question on the Q&A. Can we hear from the next person, Frater Michael King?
Okay, so I make a decision now to draw the curtain on questions or comments. I had said previously that we'll try to have these sessions at 1 hour, but I mentioned today that I'll do 1.5 hours for the simple reason that I also want to talk about the upcoming Rosicrucian Convention scheduled for the International Conference Center, Abuja, November 4 to 7. Let me say, by way of a preamble, that the themes of our conventions tell a story if we look at how they vary over the years. The story, fratres and sorors, may be different for each person as they reflect on each theme and relate one theme to another in the subsequent year that followed. For example, 17 years ago, I'm talking of recent conventions to be more specific, so we don't go too far back in time. I mean, specifically now in the year 2008, the theme of the convention in Abuja was illumination. After 4 years, in 2012, another convention was held in Abuja with the theme harmonium. The convention after that, which was scheduled for 2016, was rather held in 2017 in Calabar with the theme immortality. This year, we'll be holding the convention once again in Abuja with the theme service. So from this, you can form your own story out of the progress of our themes over the years. With the onset of illumination, the initiate can expect to experience harmonium at all levels of his body-mind-soul relationship complex, and with the diligent application of the revealed and received knowledge. The illumination and harmonium will lead to a keener appreciation of immortality emanating from series of profound spiritual experiences typical at this level of development, since most humans are not aware of the immortality of their inherent nature. And so, with illumination, harmonium, and immortality attained and appreciated. What next, Frater? If not service? The upcoming convention will be holding in the International Conference Center, Abuja, from Friday, 2021. Those who will be there physically are expected to arrive on Thursday, the 4th of November. The slogan for the convention is, after all our hue and cry for self-mastery, 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 what else can we do with it other than to serve our common humanity to the glory of God Almighty? We intend to deliver practical and deeply thought-provoking presentations to our members, prepared by seasoned members of our International Research Council who are of our order. Members should bear in mind that there is a start for in-person attendance is due to the COVID-19, which should be observed strictly, thereby reducing the effective capacity of the hall. We have noticed a tendency on the part of our members in previous conventions to wait until the last minute to register for conventions over the years. As on the day of the convention itself, I call these persons last minutitis registrants. It will be a pity if some of such members have to be turned back if it so happens that all available seats have been taken up. The deadline for timely registration of August 31 this year ushered in the late registration rates of 40,000 naira per person for registration and 12,000 naira for the traditional Martinist order. There is, however, another deadline which can occur at any time, deadline in quotes, and this is related to registrants. My simple advice to our members is to register now if you have made up your mind to attend the convention. We're expecting the convention to be graced by the presence of our most worthy imperator, Claudio Mazuko. He's very keen on meeting fratres and sorors in Nigeria, and this will be his first visit to Nigeria. And his presence brings an additional dimension, which is highly significant at the level of the egregore of the order. The opportunity of listening directly to an imperator or participating in a mystical convocation with the apex officer of the order is a privilege not given to every member. And so I'm sure members have been directing their most positive thoughts for the success of this convention, as I have been doing at the level of my personal sanctuary, as well as at the level of the Celestial Sanctum and the Council of Service. And if you have not been doing this, I'm asking you now, frater or soror, to begin to do so, even if for some reason you are unable to attend the convention. This is the kind of service expected of every institution, everywhere on our planet. And thoughts towards the International Conference Center in Abuja and visualize. And so, and let us look in your phone at this time and see the beautiful ICC, International Conference Center. See yourself there, as well as others who will be present to enjoy this convention. And now, you may close your eyes and relax them and visualize our members being inspired and uplifted by the sessions taking place during the convention. Surround all with the healing light, life, and love from the cosmic. And now, with the first deep breath, let us acknowledge the light of divinity within us and around us, so that when we are ready to exhale, our entire beings and auras are charged with the brilliance of divine light. With the second deep breath, let us acknowledge the breath of life, the vital life force. And so that when we are ready to exhale, we can feel our beings and our entire auras charged with the vitality of divine life. Finally, with the third deep breath, let us acknowledge the love of God for our entire humanity. A universal love that we cannot comprehend, let alone fully put in practice. And so that when we are ready to exhale, our entire beings and our auras are charged with the sublimity of divine love. Let us focalize upon these thoughts of inspiration and upliftment for all who participate in this convention, either by physical presence or by virtual presence through Zoom. Into the cosmic, we release this impression. It is done. And now, may the grace of God, the light, life, and love of the cosmic, and the benediction of the masters continue to abide with us and bless us. So much it be. And so, fratres and sorors, friends of our order, family members who are present with us this evening, we thank you for being with us, and we look forward to yet another opportunity, which, as usual, will be announced and promoted through the usual avenues of the social media, for us to be present once again before the end of October, in which we'll be addressing another topic, and preparing for the convention proper. Peace profound.
We thank you very much, most worthy Grand Administrator. Distinguished fratres and sorors, we have just listened to our most worthy Grand Administrator address and answer our questions on overcoming inner insecurity. Also, we have heard from him the reason for the change in timing for this month's e-forum, which is with regards to our upcoming Rosicrucian Convention with the same service, scheduled for November 4th to 7th, 2021 at the International Conference Center, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. If you have not registered for this convention, please, we are using this medium to implore you to register, as it promises to be something you would not like to miss. And just in case you didn't know, you didn't take note, or you have forgotten, we'll be having our imperator, Frater Claudio Mazuko, at this convention. So I expect us to all turn up and give him the Nigerian welcome, that hospitality the world knows us for. Let us also not forget the spiritual inclination of this convention. So on behalf of all of us here tonight, we say thank you once again, most worthy Grand Administrator, for having us on this platform and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. We would like you to know that we love to hear from you every time and are already looking forward to the next one. To you, our distinguished fratres, sorors, and friends of our beloved order, as true walking question marks that you are or we are, thank you for keeping a date with us at these sessions. We hope to have you all here again next month, October 2021, before we meet physically, before we meet physically in Abuja for the convention. Finally, to our members once again, it is a Thursday night. Please endeavor to observe your sanctum night. From Frater Ejo Okonobin and I, Sora Nefisisio Himine, we say thank you for joining us and have a good night.